It's just loading now, Mr. Mayor. We are live.
Okay, I will call this meeting to order of the April 6, 2001 Legislative Committee meeting. Thank you all for coming and hello. First business will be the adoption of the agenda. So can I get a motion for that? Councillor Lemko, thank you very much. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carry, thank you. Next up, the minutes of our last alleged meeting. Need a motion? Councillor Rudy, thank you very much. Is there any errors or omissions within these minutes? Seeing nobody jumping up and down, all those in favor? Carry, thank you. Okay, Cliff, you'll be up first. You've got a couple introductions for the community.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm very pleased to introduce two new members on our staff. First is started on April 1st is Bob Bezpalko as our Economic Development Manager. Bob came from years of experience from Alberta Hub, which is our Regional Economic Development Alliance. So welcome, Bob. And the second is no stranger to any of us. It's Jameson Brown, who's our new Communications and Marketing Manager. And his first official day is today. So I'd like to give a warm welcome to each of them. So, and we're very pleased to have them all. Thank you.
Let's start with Bob. You found your way to Vegreville today, Bob?
It was a beautiful drive, Mr. Mayor. It was like the red carpet welcoming mat. An hour and 5 minutes. I thought an hour and 15, but I was following the speed limit. It was a beautiful drive. Beautiful.
I did it in 53 minutes the other day. I was in your home community and left there, and I timed it just to see how long it was going to take you. So anyway, Bob, how are things going so far? What are you finding? And
first and foremost, I want to thank Cliff, Sandra, the rest of the team have made me feel so welcome. Made it so easy. I can't thank them enough. It's been really good and basically got thrown right into it. The files, there's stuff going on. So yeah, nothing like diving feet first, head first into it.
Excellent. I've heard from our MLA that she's reached out to you in your new position here and offered you a few contacts and look forward to your updates on that.
Yeah, Jackie has been phenomenal. She reaches out. So yeah, she's keeping me busy, definitely.
Okay, well, I can guarantee you that we're going to be all setting down here very shortly and trying to figure out exactly what the game plan is going to be in your new position and so give you a little bit of direction what council is thinking, the direction that we should be going. So again,
appreciate that. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Next up, our new Communication and Marketing Master, Mr. Jameson Brown, or is it going to be Jameson Brownlee?
I think it's a little late to steer the ship to a different name based on how the community knows me. So we're going to keep it Jameson Brown. Plus, I think my wife likes it better that way. There's a little bit of separation between me and her. But yeah, it's been a real treat to finally come aboard. Obviously, it was a process to get to this point, a pretty thorough search from what I understand, and I'm truly humbled and honored to now be a part of the team.
Well, I can tell you that we've all been waiting with anticipation for the both of you to get here, and we're going to roll out a plan of how we're going to put you both to work. And I know that the professionalism that you both have will come shining through, and you'll be able to give us some guidance in the direction that we want to go and what is achievable and what's the best way to get there. So it's kind of strange having two old radio guys on the staff. I don't know if you guys knew this, that Bob used to be in radio as well.
Yeah, I was mentioning it to.
Wow. Bob just froze up.
He just said that with two radio guys, no one's going to get a word in edgewise. So technology just proved him wrong.
Yeah, did it ever.
I started with vinyl records and cut and paste on reel-to-reel tape. So I was way ahead of my time.
Anybody else have any comments or questions for our new teammates here? Well, I can guarantee you that we've all been looking forward to your guys' input and the success of the future success of our community. So, and we'll be setting down hopefully at the social center fairly soon, distancing, wearing masks, but be able to work out a plan to move forward here. So again, just welcome, and Bob, don't go under 50 minutes driving back and forth. The last thing you need is a speeding ticket, okay?
Will do, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Okay. So Phil, Cliff, you put them right to work already? They have assignments today?
You bet. The big test is if they come back for day 2.
Yeah, that's true.
You bet. Actually, I'm meeting with each of them this week with some more detailed work plans. So
it'll be nice for them to give some heads up on how they think their role should be in our community too. I think that's the big thing. We can have expectations all we want, but we should align together with what their thoughts are too. So we'll look forward to that. Moving down. I can't believe not one of you chatty counselors has a question or something for these new teammates of ours. Counselor Barry.
Just too much in awe to be able to think of a question. That's all. It's really, really great to have the two of you on board. And yeah, since last fall, we've been looking forward to having talent like this join us. Thank you.
There we go. High expectations, gentlemen. Okay. So is there a delegation? Are they in the waiting room, Sandra?
Not at this time.
Okay.
They are scheduled for 2:15, so we still have a few moments.
Okay. Dale, maybe we could go do one of yours.
Yeah, we certainly can. We can do, let's do 7.1, Highway 16A, highway maintenance.
Okay.
So this is information to council I've received talking with MCON and then with the Alberta Highway Maintenance Contractor, Mr. Gary Foss. As we've noticed, our street sweeping on Highway 16A, which is Transportation's highway, and Highway 857, both north and south within the town limits, has not been done. And when we called to check on to when it was to be done, we were told that it's not going to be done. The provincial government has cut back on budgets across the province on all of the maintenance departments, not specifically saying don't do street sweeping, but they don't have less money to get things done and they have to prioritize what they want to get done. And right now, street sweeping within the town, our Alberta transportation roads in town are not on the list at all for this year. So there was times when we would contract our services and sweep it. There was years when they would contract someone privately and sweep it. So at this point this year, if we want the highway cleaned up, we're going to have to sweep it on our own nickel. We have to pick that stuff up because it's all just going to end up in our storm system if we don't, right?
Wow. So we reached out to them. Were they going to let us know about this deviation from the normal plan that we always have?
No, they MCON did contact the town to book us to come in and start sweeping, and then a day and a half later called us back and said, no, we're not doing it this year. So then I contacted the highway inspector, and then he had confirmed that it was up to MCON to pick and choose what they felt was a priority with the amount of money they were given. They even talked about ideas that they're tossing around, like the line painting. This year they may just do the center line, just because they don't have the funds to do what they should be doing. I remember sweeping the highway may not seem like a whole bunch, but it's about 5.5 kilometers to do to do the Highway 16A and 857. The Highway 16A, that is approximately 12 passes to get it done, 3 in each gutter up and down, and then 3 down the center, or 2 down the center. So we do the whole Highway 16A, that sweeper's on there, 12 times, 12 different trips. So it's takes about 30 to 36 hours to sweep everything up. So our sweeper would be out there for a week working away on an expense we weren't ready to have. So I'm just letting council know that. So
they contracted us to do it. What was a normal bill?
Yeah, usually around 4,000, 4,500.
Okay, well, go ahead, Councilor Rudick.
So that was actually one of the things I had asked of citizens, both kudos and challenges with sweeping. And it's problematic that the province has made a decision that directly impacts us. So we either do it and absorb the cost, or don't do it and absorb the problem. So this seems like a problematic delivery of this message from the province to us. I'm curious if this is the situation with other municipalities across the province.
Yes,
Not
it
everybody.
is.
That's a challenge for those of us that didn't choose to have a provincial roadway bisecting our town, which is a benefit, but also a challenge as they continue to either grade snow or not grade snow, or in this case, sweep or not sweep. We have no control over that, and our citizens are directly impacted, and so are our businesses that are mostly located along that corridor. So I guess my question is, how are we going to communicate our concern to the province, understanding that they have limited resources, but so do we. And we should at least be told if we're going to be absorbing a new cost.
Councilor Barry.
I would certainly agree with that. I think that we need to be at least informing our MLA of just the added cost and such that we're suddenly faced with. I mean, I don't think this seems really appropriate when the sweeper should be on the street right now and we're being informed that we're going to have to foot the bill. So I think that we should certainly not sit back and take it quietly.
Well, I'll echo both your thoughts. There's no doubt about it. And I think what we're looking at here is where the provincial government has made cuts in funding to a private company. The private company is now making the decisions on what they're going to be doing with the money that was allocated to them. So we can voice our displeasure through our MLA and a letter to transportation, the Minister of Transportation. That's a good start. But I would like to keep track of everything that we're doing, Dale. I'm not saying that we shouldn't go out and clean it, but I would like to at least be able to forward them a bill at the end of this. And as a private company, EPCON can make their own decisions, but the province didn't tell them not to do this.
That's correct. They're picking and choosing what they feel is a priority, and probably in consultation with the highway inspections manager.
Okay, Councilor Brodziak.
I'd also like to mention that we should include in our letter, have they considered what the liability issues could be by not having the highway swept within the town of Vegreville. There's a lot of motorbikes out there, and normally they don't start to go riding until the streets are swept. So this potentially could be a liability issue for the province.
Okay, so we will form a letter to our MLA and to the Minister of Transportation. And we will create an invoice, Dale, keeping track of what the time we spent, and we'll send it off to that private company no matter what. Even though that they feel that they can make decisions on behalf of this municipality as a private company funded by a government, we don't feel that that's correct. So, okay, thank you very much. Sandra, do we have anybody in the waiting room now?
Yes, Renee and Patty are in the waiting room and I'm admitting them now.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies. Welcome to our meeting.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having us.
Somebody has a little background noise. I think it's Renee. Anybody else hear it? Yeah. You don't have a motorcycle in your office, do you, Renee?
No, I was just on mute. I shouldn't be giving background noise, but maybe I'll try. That does happen sometimes.
It is a lot better right now.
Yeah, you're good now, Renee.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, so you're here on behalf of the Rotary Club, and we want to talk about the bike and skate park, that your big project that you're doing. So the floor is all yours.
Thank you. Well, thanks for having us back. And we just wanted to give you an update as to where things were at and how things were progressing. And hopefully you've all seen the fantastic promo video that we've put out in the spring related to the bike and skate park, which many of you were a part of. So we thank you. Thank you for that. So we are hopeful. We're kind of on the final stages of reaching our goals for the Cfib grant. So the Cfib grant can be reapplied for at June 15th. And the last time the feedback we got from them was that we needed to have all of the funding in place for the matching portion before they would even consider it. So that's kind of where we're at now. We've revised our budget. We've revamped our fundraising campaigns, and we're recently at the County of Minburn as well to get some further support from them. So where we're at today, our project cost is $800,000 for the park. And with all of the amounts that we've had committed from all of the donors, businesses, individuals, all the fundraising that we've done, we are still about, I would say, $90,000 short. That's including the $40,000 that we had requested and the town had approved the last time we had come to visit you. But what the county has put out to us is that they would fund a loan to us of $75,000. So we are, with that funds, we are hopeful today to ask the town to reconsider their donation to us so that we could meet our full matching funds. So with the $40,000 cash that you've already committed, we would like to ask if you would also consider a 75 matching loan with the county to get us to our full contribution. And then we'd be fully funded and could apply for Cfib for June.
Okay, just so I'm hearing this right, Renee. So the $40,000 that committed that we've already spoken up and said we would.
Yep.
And a $75,000 loan.
Mm-hmm. And I know the last time you had suggested you do one or the other, because I think last time we had asked for 150 of loan or the 40,000. And right now we can't swing it without both at this stage. Without the 40,000 and the 75,000. Now that's not being said, we're still in the process of writing grant applications and reaching out for funding within the community, but this short-term financing will hopefully get us to fully funded, and then we can use any other extra funds that we get to start repaying those loan amounts. So it's just cash up front to build. And then the Rotary Club will pay those back over five-ish years, I think, is our goal.
Okay, I see that the community has seen some new funding opportunities. There's some naming and opportunities, two or three different levels of sponsorship that you put out there and stuff. How's the feedback on that?
I would say very uninterested, honestly. I mean, we couldn't be tackling this project at a worse time, honestly, with the business community, and even on the grant side of things. Just to, I guess, bring you up to date from the last time, we did successfully receive $15,000 from the UFA. So that really is the only large outsourcing grant that we've got, other than from town commitment and county commitment. The community association, not community, the Vegreville Association for Disabilities has committed $50,000 to our project, but they want that to go to sensory walls. So right now we're looking at doing that, but we're trying to separate the park of the physical green space park with the sensory walls from the bike and skate park, the concrete park. So that $50,000 that ballot has committed will go to the sensory walls for the green space park. And what we're trying to get the Cfib funding for is just get this bike and skate park built first, and then we'll worry about the green space park after. And maybe there will be more receptive, you know, donors within the community, or if it's another year from now, maybe then we can just get some more funds, or even from other service clubs in the community. Honestly, well, I guess the Kinsmen have committed $15,000 to our park as well. So that's the other big sponsor that we have. But the Kinets early committed $15,000, but then had to back out because they have no money and sources of fundraising right now either. So that's another spot where we've lost some of our funds along the way.
Okay,
so challenging times.
Will you be reapplying for this ISIP grant again?
It has to be in for June 15th. So we would have approval, I believe, within 3 months, I think, by September. And our goal would be then to start fall construction if we could work with a new line to get it going for fall.
But you wouldn't even be able to apply for it if that $40,000 we'd already said we're committed to. If you couldn't get the $75,000 loan commitment, you wouldn't even be able to apply for this at this time.
That's right. That's right. And our club can't physically raise another 75 before then either. Like, we just don't have the resources. We are just to bring it up to speed. We're starting an online auction fundraiser that will be up in the next week and a half. So that will be a big source of funds for us that we've already committed to this, as well as our Father's Day lobster boil pickup and takeaway. We will be doing that again. So those are on the horizon, and those funds will go directly to this park as well.
Anybody have any questions right now about what the expectations are, or what is all going to be involved here? Councilor Rudick.
Can you just remind me, Renee, through the chair, through the mayor, the Cfib application is a matching 50-50. So whatever funds you raise is what Cfib can provide to you, or what is the formula that they provide in grant funding?
Yes, it is 50-50 matching. So right now we are, just on the verge of that 325. So if we had the extra 75, then they would match the 400.
Okay. So who is on your committee here? Like for a question for Patty. So Mrs. Vanette came to my office and gave me the sponsorship package. And Renee's already told us it's hard for businesses right now to come up with some sponsorship dollars. But one thing that I noticed, there was a spot for private individuals donate $500. What would they get in recognition for the $500? Would their name be on a wall or something like that? Or I don't really remember how that was gonna work out.
Yeah, we have there would be like a plaque wall where anyone with donations with those dollar values would have their name on a plaque. Or if they wanted it on a park bench, we have some that with memorial trees, their name, there would be a plaque with the memorial tree, but there would be name recognition on this wall.
So for the 500 personal individual donation, their expectations could be to have on a wall recognizing all the people that made their donation on a small plaque with their name on it. And then as the other sponsorship moved up with some parts of the park would have like the gold sponsor would be named for a grind or a jump or something like that. Is that how that was going to roll out?
Yeah.
Okay. I do believe the $500 personal one is something that I think is achievable to raise some money at this time. It's hard for her to get a big sponsor today in this community, in any community, really, where everybody's at today with the business. Well, unless they're selling lumber or actually cutting down trees.
Absolutely challenging. And, you know, we've really tried to work with the Elk Island Community Foundation with the charitable donation status. So any donations that we've received have flowed through them. So every individual would get a charity receipt because the Rotary Club isn't an official charity. So that way we've, you know, covered off that avenue to hopefully garner some more individual support. So we'll keep doing this. I mean, we'll be looking for donations probably for the next 5 years till we can get this paid off, right?
Okay, Councilor Barry.
So the opportunity of getting sponsorships, and that would be some of the ways that you'd be trying to raise funds in order to clear the 2 loans that you're asking for. You've got one at 75,000 now. And if you get another one, so you'd have over a period of about 5 years, commitment to try and pay off 150,000 in loans. And then, so I'll just cut to where I'm at on this. I would really like to see the park get built. I think that there's a lot of youth in town that would really, really benefit by having a well-organized and supervised area that they could skateboard, bike. So I'm actually kind of leaning towards being in favor of this myself.
Okay.
Much appreciate that.
Councilor Rudy.
So it's a bit of a challenge to have this discussion in this format without weighing heavily one way or the other. And there's a couple of Rotary members on our council as well, because they're active volunteers. So as a non-Rotary member, I would echo Councillor Barry's sentiment that we've done a lot to build up our community, and the financial implication of providing a guaranteed loan to a surface club that is in essence doing something that's of benefit to the municipality by providing us an asset that would be very marketable, extremely good addition to our community, sort of fits in the vein that we've been working on. So we've been talking about being fiscally responsible as a council, but also making sure that we're building to the future with assets that are bringing people to the community. And one of those things is making sure that our green spaces, our parks, our walking trails, as well as the things that are amenities in that vein are up to par. So I don't see that any different as some of the projects that we have ongoing, except that it's the Rotary Club that's funding it. Can I just ask a question to Cliff or to Paul? What is the implication of guaranteeing a loan in this instance where the club is guaranteeing the repayment?
Cliff, go ahead.
The club itself would qualify because they're a non-charitable organization. In the past, the town has granted 3 interest-free loans. One was to the preschool, one to the golf course, and then recently to the soccer association. So, but repayment terms would have to be discussed as well. So.
Hey, Paul Casey, sorry.
Just to clarify or answer your question, Councillor Rudick, I don't think they're asking us to guarantee a loan. They're asking us to give them a loan. There's a difference. If we guarantee the loan, then that has an impact on our long-term debt situation in terms of our ability to borrow. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
So is there anything else you two would like to add or try to convince the rest of these councillors who haven't smiled or given you a nod yet?
Yeah, we just hope that you consider it. Depending where our fundraising goes between the next little bit will depend on the value of what we are asking for. At this point, we're just asking for $75,000 so we can to help apply for the loan. Not saying we may need the $75,000. We're going to continue to fundraise, and it's just basically so that we can go forward with our Cfib application. It could be a lower amount once it's all said and done. Once we get through the fundraising for the next little while.
Okay,
What's your timing for an answer from the town on this?
We have our the deadline for the Cfib is June 15th, so we would like to know within the next month. Would be fantastic.
Okay, Councillor Lemko.
I think it's commendable what the Rotary is doing for our community and all the efforts you've put already into Vegreville, and you have my support on this initiative, and I'll do what I can to assist making it happen. I thank you.
Okay, Councillor Waters.
I wasn't going to say a lot on this as I am a fellow Rotarian as well. This idea had been floating around for quite a while, so it's nice to see where it's at already. But just, again, in favor of it, of course, but with our youth, they need those outside sources. We're seeing that today for the mental clarity. Seeing the same four walls and same family members all the time is very difficult. So it's part of that mental issue as well with our youth.
That's for sure. So I can guarantee you that we will have an answer within 2 weeks for you for sure. We can't discuss it too openly right now because there's a couple of members that belong to your club, but I would just like to encourage the residents of Vegreville to get behind this project. So if they were to make a $500 donation and have their name on that sponsorship board, they could receive a charitable donation receipt through Elk Island Foundation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. It's good to know.
And that's a good point to get that out there again. Maybe we just need to do a little bit more advertising around that as well, just to make sure our community members know, and particularly if we're this close to making this happen, these final pushes I think will really help. And in talking to the youth when we made our video, I mean, they're ready for this new park. They're so excited and they need more free play space. We've got lots of activities in this community for the younger ones with all the playgrounds, but not very much for that teenage group. So I think this will be a real asset for any of those families and attraction and tourism as well. So thank you so much for all of your time and listening and generosity from Town Council and support, because we really couldn't have done this without all of you, and for our committee members, our Rotarians. And I know Phil's been actively trying to help us with ideas and getting this off the ground too. So we really appreciate all the efforts. And of course, Paul and Cliff with the administration side and some of the banking requests that we've had, and been working with them as well. So we really appreciate all of that to to make this happen, and we're almost there, just so close. So thank you.
That's how all these major projects get. They got to start someplace and get really close before they can go ahead. So again, I just, on behalf of Town Council, thank you and the Rotary Club for all your efforts to try to make our community, a lot better place to live, especially for our youth on this project. So we will get back to you. Is there anybody else before we go? Have anything else they would like to? Oh, Councilor Brajak.
I just want to say, as a fellow Rotarian, I appreciate all the efforts that our club has done to get to this point. And we're still looking for a major sponsor. And I just want to reiterate that for that location to be a major sponsor, that is probably one of the best locations for advertising, like for your advertising dollar. So I'd like to reach out to the rest of our council to put out a good word if there's any company that they can think of that might want to put their name up there, because it'll be there for many years, and that is an absolute prime location for advertising.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you both. And like I said, Cliff will get back to you, or Cliff, you'll be getting back, I would imagine, one way or the other. And within 2 weeks, we'll have an answer for you.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Councilor Warwa. You just missed a presentation by the Rotary Club. We'll fill you in later. Okay. Okay, so next up is Phil Rowe.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and Council. First item
Sorry, Phil, before you go ahead, could I have everyone refresh their agenda, please? We had an updated document. Thank you.
Phil, you don't need to refresh yours.
Yeah. So last council meeting in March, council asked for an update on the MSP funding, program funding. So what I've done here is a spreadsheet broken down into 3 sections: the Museum Event Center, walking trails, and playgrounds. And then the following 3 pages is the actual trail plan for the Northeast Loop, so that council will get a good understanding of where we'd like the trail to go. So the first column, the original MSP funding that we had put in was $200,000 for the event center. 208,505 was total trail costs. That included the full Northeast Loop to finish inside the park. The playgrounds, there's 150,000 for the Kinsman playground, and 75,000 of that was to complete the base, and 75,000 was for add-ons that we would look to see what we could get for that 75,000 that would best suit the park and the community. And then there was an additional 120,000 for 2 playgrounds at 60,000 each. That basically was the 678,505 for the total MSP funding. Of course, we do know that the Museum Event Center, we've had an overrun due to renovation of a very old building. So, and my apologies to council, the top option 1 and option 3, it should be 269, 265. Not the 235 and 228. I was playing around with numbers there. So anyway, the Museum Event Center at this point is 269,000. And we've taken into consideration some contingency because we still don't know if we're faced with any issues. The Northeast Trail Loop, there's a couple of options here. one with a sidewalk and one with an additional option. The 12,000 inside the park, that remains the same. And depending on what we do with the Northeast Trail Loop and what the final outcome of the Museum Event Center, basically what that will do will dictate how much money we can spend on playgrounds, which would be the last part of the grant expenditure. The museum center, the event center, we're expecting it to be completed by the May long weekend. We are going to try and do some in-house work that we can create some of our own savings from that. And then that money would go back directly into the playgrounds. Whatever savings, what we don't spend will go into playgrounds. So if everybody just wants to kind of scroll down, you can see there's 3 figures. So figure 1, that is the proposed walking trail around man-made pond. And I'll just kind of watch to see if everybody's sort of ready. Everybody good? Okay, so it will come off the 47th Street soccer fields, the football field there. The trail goes along to 44A Street. We'll cross that road, go down a little gravel area, and we'll make a full loop around the pond. And then we'll extend it down south from the berm to 56B Avenue, which is basically on the very northeast corner of the St. Martin's School Field. So if you look at figure 2, you can see where the little dotted line comes from the top. That's the berm. And then it'll go all along the east side of St. Martin's property, along 43rd Street, all the way to 54A Avenue, which is the front of St. Martin's School. So that will all be paved, 6-foot paved trail, 1.9 meters. Okay, now figure 3. I hope I've done my best here. So you can see a little yellow dotted line up by St. Martin's School. So that's the figure 2 that will come down to 54A Ave. Then there's the blue line is an existing concrete sidewalks that we have in place. So it'll go all the way down to basically to the condo building. You cross the Vermilion River Bridge to the condo building there. So here's where like council to make a decision. Last meeting we talked, Your Worship, about doing a proposed sidewalk in front of the 5 houses along 43rd Street. This cost is twice the amount of paving a trail, and in consultation with IP&D and Public Works, the houses along that proposed sidewalk are significantly lower than what the sidewalk height will be. This will cause a lot of additional landscape work than costs that would have to be incurred by the town. So Karina Sorkin had thrown an option out to me on figure 3. So rather than doing the red concrete sidewalk, we could extend the paved trail, which is the yellow dotted line, from in the park and basically go along the river, and it would tie into the sidewalk that goes in front of the condo building. And all we'd need is a couple of small signs to let everybody know this is where the walking trail is. I think that's a fantastic idea to extend that trail all along the river and then just tie into what an existing sidewalk already. So in the end, that's the decision that I'd like council to consider, is going with the walking trail along the river instead of the concrete sidewalk. And if there's any questions on the spreadsheet, whatever's not spent on the event center and what we can save by doing some work in-house, that money will directly go back into playgrounds. And the playgrounds, I'm meeting with some playground organizations, just to kind of get an idea of, as professionals, what they think is the best for us to do with the money that we have. And I will certainly bring that back to council. But do we want to spend money on community neighborhood playgrounds? Or do we want to focus all the full money, the 150, on the Kinsman playground, and then take the balance of the money and put that towards neighborhood playgrounds? Or we can put the 2 full neighborhood campgrounds in place and take the money off the Kinsman playground. So that's kind of where I'm sitting at for.
Okay, so let's just go back to the top of option 3 for the Museum Event Center. $269,265.
Yes.
We're all agreed on that because there's a little bit of contingency money in there, and plus the fact that it needs to get finished. So everybody's okay with that. Councilor Rudick.
Can you just remind us again, what is captured in that 269, 265? Because we've talked about it a few times. If you could please remind us what's included in that museum project, just briefly.
So what you want the entire project, or just what the increase was?
I would just like a brief synopsis of what is we're talking about as much money here. We've spent a lot of time talking about the different elements that are below. I just would like a refresh because we've had, again, conversations about this several months ago and we haven't revisited that. We've talked about the overages, and it might be good in this format in a public meeting to be able to say what is captured in that 269, 265, including the contingency, just briefly.
Okay, so what we have done is the back portion of the museum building being converted into an event center. So what we did is we took the washrooms, they're both being expanded, gutted completely and expanded to become wheelchair accessible and accessible from inside and outside, separate entrances. For those who are familiar, the old former Sports Hall of Fame has been completely opened and gutted. And so we have basically an open area that will seat up to 80 people for small events. And we have a fully functional kitchen that caterers can use to prepare meals. So it's not a social center kitchen, but we have had input from caterers. So big portions of the meal, they'll prepare at their own kitchens and bring them there to serve. But there will be an oven there, warming trays, dishwasher, everything that they need, counter space. And then there's a serving area plus a bar area. And there'll be a new access from that to the south side to a barbecue area from the event center, from the building itself. And we did incur some cost overruns with dealing with a building of that age. The furnace simply was not capable of handling that kind of air movement. There is no air conditioning there. And if we want to rent this out predominantly in the summer months, it needs air conditioning. The floor, when we took out the walls between the Sports Hall of Fame, one floor is 3.5 inches lower than the other floor. So that has to be leveled. There was all kinds of oxygen and water and gas pipes because it was a research science spot. There was pipes running everywhere. Those had to be removed. I guess it was just something we didn't expect. And also two support beams, because when we moved walls, those were support walls. So that had to be added into. And so we're putting in place here 269,000, and that's with contingency fund. I'm hoping not to use this, but every time we open a wall, and we never originally planned on replacing the windows, but and the drywall, that was never originally planned. Once we opened up some drywall because there was a leak on the roof, there was mold. That's all been moved. Brand new insulation. The windows are from the early 70s, and we're going to be putting in a new furnace and air conditioning. That money would be just going right out those windows. So again, we're doing it all properly, and say, unfortunately, it was just some costs that I did not foresee. So that's where we're sitting at with. Is that good enough for?
Thank you. I just thank you for updating in this format in a public meeting. Thank you.
Well, basically, our goal was to get it to be able to hold events using the inside and the outside to accommodate up to 100 people. So the challenge is with the bathroom, to expand them to accommodate 100 people, and now having entrance from inside and out. And again, renovating an old building, even the insulation had to go. I knew we were probably looking at some of this as we started tearing it apart. And the HVAC system in there, the ductwork was terrible. And so, and in this, there's still some money left in there for some more unforeseen. There will be a cement pad outside that will be for a barbecue area and stuff. And there will be options as we move forward at this event center to add on, to bring it up a little bit each year to make it more accommodating to all kinds of different events. So if there's really not a lot we can do about this $269,265. That's where we're at on that one. Okay, Councillor Barry.
I just want to add in there that the overrun is not really unforeseen in terms of an older building of that nature. But the aspect is we could have done it haphazardly, or we could have done it right. So I think that the aspect is right now is we're looking at doing it right so that we have a good usable facility. And I know I'd like to remind people that, we're still going to be operating the corn maze there, and this is going to be a fantastic addition to allow us to truly meet the public from a large area and treat them properly with a really good function. And it's also available for weddings, family reunions. I think that it's something that will really be utilized by the public once we get moving on it. So I'm quite in favor of seeing that we get this done and done correctly.
Okay, and still, it still will have a purpose as a museum, as the Historical Society comes together and as the plans develop how we're going to lay this out. So like we all can agree right now, the 269, 265, that's in, no matter what. So our next decision we need to make is if we're okay with that walking path over than putting the sidewalks in where there'd be a lot more work. Councillor Barry.
I actually like the option that they just brought us by swinging and coming around so that the actual walking trail is going down along another portion of the river. I think that makes it a more usable green space aspect rather than taking a sidewalk down past, 4 or 5 other houses along that street. The option is still there, just as it is now, where people at the condo or even above my place by the church and that, of crossing the street and taking the other sidewalk all the way down to the hospital and then crossing into the park. So they'll actually have 2 ways of going down there, whichever route they choose. But I actually do like that idea of going down along that other portion of the river, because we're trying to utilize green space. And I think that really actually blends in quite well.
I personally agree. I mean, looking at the slope to those front yards of those other residents there, trying to put a sidewalk in would have been a challenge. And this just adds to the experience of another trip walking along the river. So we'll start with Councillor Waters first.
Just curious, with along the river there, how is the lighting back there? There probably isn't any lighting right now, I'm assuming.
We have very little lighting on our walking trails. The Councillor Rudick has sent me some links to some potential grants that we would actually look at putting in some solar lighting along the trails. That'll be another step in my planning projects for walking trails to get lights along there. But no, in the park, there's very, very little lighting on the trails. So.
Okay, thanks.
And I know that Councilor Orwa and myself, we've talked about when we go around the man-made pond as well, we're going to have to look at some options for a little bit more light, but it will be light through a renewable type of power. So, but for right now, we have this budget and we're trying to make it work. So I think that anything in the future, you know, by the fall, if Phil come up with something, his department, through some of the grants that Councilor Rudick's proposing that we asked for, that'll all be a bonus. But for right now, we only have X amount of dollars, and we all had our favorites that we wanted to get to. And I think that we're trying to find the best blend that we can here right now. So okay, Councilor Lemko.
Yes, Your Worship. I agree with moving using the paved trail in the green space by the condos versus putting sidewalk. I think anytime we can put a paved trail, like all our trails inside park boundaries, it bodes well for people to be in that area versus being close to the roadway. So I fully support that, and we save some money. We can use it in the playground, so I'm all good.
Okay, so is anybody against this new proposal for the walking trails to go around both sides of the man-made lake, come out along the berm and down 43rd Street beside the St. Martin School, and then the option we were just showing? Is there anybody that is against that? Okay. So what Phil is saying is that that's going to be $199,240 to complete that. I myself personally, when the letters go out to those residents that are going to be directly affected, I feel the person right on the corner of 56th B Avenue and 43rd Street, we should add a little fence beside his house. Because everybody else along that berm has a fence, and a fairly high fence. When you get past his garage, it'll be wide open to his vehicles and to his side of his house and his driveway. So I think we'll have consultation with everybody that's affected by this new option, and we'll do the mailouts. But that's one thing I would like to see as council recognize, that the privacy that he's had all these years, where everybody else is already set up and the walking path is quite a ways away from their backyards. This one here will be very close at the very end of the park where it comes out on the berm there. So I think we should actually consider that and talk to that resident about what their thoughts are. Okay, Councilor Rudick.
So further to that question, the proposal of the walking trail, I think, is great. I actually think it's maybe appreciated by the people that would have been receiving additional snow shoveling in the winter. They might appreciate not only is the walking trail more natural, but we're not giving them the gift that they didn't intend of shoveling in perpetuity for the front yards there. My question is, as we bring forward this proposal, do we have a mechanism in place for people to be able to register their concerns and what happens with that, so that people understand very clearly what our process is now?
Okay, Phil, you're going to tell council what your plan is to bring the residents involved in this.
Yeah, so we have a letter drafted up that we will be sending to basically all the residents that will be on the man-made trail. So basically all the houses around the man-made pond, including from 44A, we're including all those houses, and how they can address any concerns, and we will keep track of them here before we proceed. Those letters will go out as soon as this is approved by council, which appears it is. So we'll get the letters out ASAP to everybody, and I will keep track of all the comments, any concerns, and I will forward them to council for their review.
Great, Councillor Warwick.
I just had one question on figure 2, going up along St. Martin's. I had been walking past there the other day. It doesn't seem very wide. Is there going to be a need, like, will they have to move the fence? I just was looking between some of the power poles and the fence. It seemed kind of narrow. So I just was wondering about that, Phil.
No, it's 8 feet from the curb to the fence, and the paved trail will be just it's 2 centimeters under 6 feet, so it'll be just fine. And actually what that'll do is that'll give parents at St. Martin's a good option for dropping off their kids as well, because right now there's just grass there, so and that will be cleaned in the winter time, so parents will have a good option of dropping off their kids along the east side of St. Martin's.
Okay, Councillor Rudy.
Sorry, that question that Councillor Warwa just asked, will the school or the school board also be consulted or informed as an affected party, as well as the residents, so that they can weigh in on this process?
Yes, yeah, the school board will be notified.
Okay, one question to Dale. During a snow removal, Dale, on 43rd Street, do we typically just windrow snow on both east and west sides of that street?
No, we don't. We haul it out.
Okay, so we're okay there.
Yep.
Okay, so if everybody's fine with that, and we'll go through the process of reaching out to the residents, and Phil will update us. Any comments that are coming back, good or bad, will let us know, and we'll have a discussion, open discussion with those residents. Okay, so now, Phil, you know where you're at. So what's your option for the rest of the parks? What are you proposing?
Okay, so there's 2 parks. There's the Kinsman Park that's actually in the Pisgah Park, and then we had money budgeted for 2 neighborhood playgrounds. So does council want to we have enough money to complete the Kinsman Park, and then we would have to reduce the neighborhood playgrounds? Or do we want to take the neighborhood playgrounds, complete them, and take the money, what we're shortfall, out of the Kinsman playground? So that's a decision. Do we want to complete one and put the money into what the balance, put that into the neighborhood playgrounds, or complete the neighborhood playgrounds and take the shortfall out of the Kinsman playground addition? So the base has to get done. That's $75,000. Irregardless, that base has to get done. So that's $75,000 for sure. And the $75,000 was additional add-ons. So whether it was some more playground toys, or whether it was a bunch of like there's a 4-inch binder full of what you can put in playgrounds.
Okay, so the option that Phil's proposing right now, that he's recommending, is we go the 150 for the new base at the Kinsman Playground at the Pisgah Park, and we'd then add on the rest, well, 75 for the base and 75 for add-ons, and only 60,000 for one smaller residential park in town. That's what he's recommending. So Councillor Waters, you can lead us off.
Yeah, I was just going to ask what we're looking at doing at the Kinsman Playground. I still think it's important we do something with the other 2. Like 60,000 would get us what? Would it get us 2 playgrounds with a slide or a swing? Like, what would 60,000 get us in terms of playgrounds?
It would add on to if you were to put a brand new playground from scratch, you'd get very minimal because the base costs a lot of money. But just to add on to some current playgrounds, we could get some swing sets. Like, again, there's so many options as to what you could do. I am working with RC Strategies on the master plan and telling us what is best needed in the community in terms of our parks. We actually I got just a draft update from them. And in terms of green space and playgrounds, we're doing exceptionally well in this community. There's just some, there's some lag areas in the community as we've expanded out that we'll certainly deal with in the future. But 60,000 will not get you a whole lot if you have to build a brand new playground.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Barry.
Yeah, I'd like to come back to what we have discussed, though, when we start looking at Foxview Estates and the area that's up there, because I think we were all fairly supportive of looking at making sure that we improve that bit of a playground that is there, especially for the dirt bikes or the cross country, the BMX, I guess they really are called. I don't mean motorized dirt bikes, but I mean like, we were discussing saying that that's a residential area that we want to try and promote. And if we were to add some structures to that area there, that playground and green space, that it would be a drawing point. So I know it's, it's Easter time. So we'll say, do we want to put all of our eggs in one basket? The aspect is we do have a pretty good playground there at the Pasanka Park, at the Kingsman Park. If we make it so that it's wheelchair accessible, I think that's the important part. But I think that we do have areas like up there at Foxview Estates that would benefit by us adding to it for sure.
Okay, Councillor Rowe.
For me, I'm a little bit different on this one. The reason being is I do think, like, as much as we could do, and maybe it's not necessarily new structures at these other places, but like Councillor Barry said, maybe improving some of that BMX area. But I've walked now multiple days in a row and really took a good look at that playground. Obviously, the base needs to come out and be changed so that it's wheelchair accessible, otherwise it's not. But I've taken a really good look at it, and there's not a lot of options on the actual playground itself, even once the base is on there, that actually includes the ability to get into that equipment. I think that if we do not actually put the funding towards that extra dollars to enhance those areas and do the other attachments, we've made an area that they can physically enter, but we haven't actually made apparatus and items for them to go on. And I know it's great if we can do that in multiple areas, but in talking about being inclusive, it would be nice if we could at least know that there's one area we could direct people to. Right now, when I took a really good look at it, I just feel like doing the base without adding anything on isn't actually going to give them access to a playground. I mean, I might be wrong. Maybe Phil can give us a little more on that, but I really feel like we have to put the extra money into some apparatus that makes it accessible.
And on the proposal that's Phil and his department's recommending, Councillor, would be 75,000 for the base and 75,000 for the add-ons to bring it up so that it would be capable of handicap people that participate on the equipment. So I don't know what that looks like for $75,000, but that's part of the base, the upgrade to get to the park, and plus there would be $75,000 more spent on having some sort of areas where they could get onto the park itself and use it. So that's the 150 proposed, 75 for the base and 75 for some apparatus when they get up to there that they could get onto the park. So you're suggesting that we spend even more on that?
Not that we'd spend more. I just want to make sure that because things are very expensive when you go to put them in. And I would just say that I still like the idea of developing one other area, but I just want us to finish off that park properly and not handcuff us to an exact amount. Like, I'm just saying I'd be open to us making sure that we've actually added a true accessible playground.
So we would like to see some numbers for that 75, what it gets to that portion of the population that would be needing it. So, Councillor Rudick?
So I'm going to maybe defer to admin to take a look at this, but there was a walkable community study that was done previously for the town of Vegreville, I think the last term that we were on, and it talked about making the park accessible for a stroller or for somebody that has mobility issues as well as a wheelchair. And it had a range of considerations. So I know that that would be in the files in community services. I'm sorry, Phil, that would be another thing to pull out, but there were some recommendations that were made at that time. But I do feel like you're correct, Councillor Warwa, that if we're making it accessible for a stroller or for a wheelchair or those with access issues, we want to make sure that there's something for them to do as well. My other concern is, and we've spoken about this previously, is that we want to make sure that there are play spaces in various areas of the community. And yes, we do very well. There are communities that don't have this opportunity, but I believe Councillor Brodziak had showed a climbing structure that's very popular in Europe, for example. I've seen many of those, as well as, for example, disc golf, which would be for a different demographic that could be used for young or old people, that uses the tee boxes, kind of like golf. That's another option, or a zip line. So I think we were talking about maybe a non-traditional playground, or an opportunity that would be different if people were coming to that area of town, as well as making sure that existing play spaces are usable. So the one that was example that Councillor Barry referenced was the Foxview Estates, making sure that that area is a selling point for people that would be purchasing those lots in the future. So I think we can probably achieve that by putting some different structures in different areas of town, as well as addressing the needs at the Kinsman Park.
Okay, well, that's okay, but we have X amount of dollars to work with. So what we've committed to so far, and the majority of council was sort of talking about the upgrades to the Foxview Estates Park. I think we've had some private businesses in town that are willing to step up and to help out a little bit with the BMX trail. There's a bit of a commitment out there that some local dirt and shaping may be able to come to the town free. So are we looking, is that the spot we'd like to spend our $60,000 on equipment? Because $60,000 does not get you a lot today in a park. But that's where we want to start with this $60,000? Councillor Brodziak.
I'm all in favor for parks and to have them in various parts of our community. What I'd like to see, though, before committing, we're talking numbers, I'd like to see a plan in place to say, this is what it's going, this is the amount of dollars that it will take us for a specific outcome. So if we want to add a certain piece of equipment, is it going to fit on a certain layout for the base? I'd like to see, before making a commitment for dollars, I'd like to see a final plan, what piece of equipment is chosen and how much it's actually going to cost. And then we'll be able to, you know, to make better judgments on, instead of saying 75 and 60, I mean, it might vary. So it would be, I think, prudent to have an actual number. Let's pick a piece of equipment, and what are we going to need to achieve this? And even in the future, so for RC, you were saying RC strategies, that we did have the park plan in place so that we would know what equipment we'll be purchasing in the future and what we should be budgeting.
Okay, well, to that, Councillor Brodziak, I can tell you that there's a plan being put together regarding parks, and they've been out, and Phil is ongoing with a company that's been hired, what we're doing, but that's really not going to fall into this allocation of this grant money, what we're doing right now. So this is where we're at. Cliff, did you want to say something?
And that's the point I was going to make, was for the purposes today, we would be allocating the $210,000 towards playgrounds, and we have a broken Kinsman and a new playground. Location to be determined, or any equipment to be determined. What we're doing at this point is allocating some dollars for the grant application purposes. Okay, and I would actually like council to wait till we have our Parks Master Plan ready so that we can come and bring it to council, and then that will give us more of a layout to where potential parks and locations within the community. So we don't have to determine what we're doing or where at this point. We're just allocating some grant dollars towards those items at this for the purposes for today.
Yeah. So no matter what, the master parks plan is in the works and it's coming, and we're paying for someone that assists our administration to do this. What we're trying to do is determine if this is the amount of money that we have left. Is everybody okay with it there? Because if you want to start breaking it down, the council's going to order what color the swing sets are going to be and stuff. We are going to be so far behind. Everybody's going to be in front of us. We're going to be buying 3 times the inflated value, 3 times the installation price. So we need to come up and give them a plan to go ahead and purchase today based on the grant money that's allocated to us. And when we do, council does get to see the overall master parks plan. This is where we can start making decisions about the future building of the parks. But if we wait to be the last person to order a piece of equipment this year, we'll probably get it in 3 years. This money was allocated and has to be spent. That was the part that came with the grant. So I just want everybody to remind everybody of that. There is a master plan coming, and I don't think we should get down in the weeds and tell her how big the swing set will be and what color the slide will be. But I do agree that if we're saying that at the Kinsman Park, we're going to spend $75,000 to make that base accessible to different portions of our society. May they be physically handicapped or whatever their restrictions are, that we should be able to see what we're going to get for $75,000. I would like to see that. Is it enough? Is it enough that somebody could actually go there and have fun if they could access the park itself with a new base? Okay, Councillor Barry.
Yes, thank you, Worship. So if I'm following this correctly, we're satisfied that we're going to finish off the event center, and we're satisfied with the walking trails that we got on the go there with that new plan. So what we're really looking at is whether we have to move some monies away from the playgrounds to meet our other commitments, and then administration can bring back as to what the remainder of the monies can accomplish in whatever locations. Is that where we're at? We're not trying to say what to build as a playground, but we're trying to decide how much monies are to be left for playgrounds. Is that the correct?
Well, the option that is being proposed to us is 150 at the Ag Park, the Kinsman Park, for the base and the upgrades, plus one other park at 60,000. Or we only do the base at the Kinsman Playground and don't add anything else to that park itself. And then we spend 120 and build 2 smaller parks at 60 each. That's really where we're at right now. That's what the decision we need to make.
I think myself right now, I'd be looking at it saying, let's finish the Kingsman Park. I understand what Councillor Warwell has said, and the others. I mean, in terms of, yes, we can make it accessible, but let's make it usable. I'm not really concerned about taking and trying to designate whether the other 60 is going to 1 park or 2 parks or which park. I think that the important thing for us is move on from at least knowing that maybe we've decided that the Kingsman will get done and done right, and then we'll see where we're at with the remainder. I'd still prefer to see it up there in Foxview Estates, but if there's some ways of doing that with some private monies as well, or then we should wait and see what's in the plan.
Okay, so no matter whatever happens, if we go to Foxview Estates, it'll just be some added to the BMX side. Local contractors donating some dirt, some shaping and stuff like that. But what we're really looking for here is the commitment that the council's good for the 150 and the 60. That's the option that was being proposed to us. Or do we want to go 75 and then the 2 smaller parks. That's the decision we actually have right now. So I'll start with Councillor Lemko. What are your thoughts on the park system here?
Yeah, Your Worship, I'm in favor of doing the 150 at the Kinsman Park and finishing it off. That's a well-used park from all aspects of the community, as well as a lot of traveling folks. I think bang for our buck. I would make sure that is accessible and usable, like Councillor Berry said. So I'm in favor of the 150 there, and the balance as wherever it plays itself out.
Okay, Councillor Rudy.
So the option that Councillor Lemko just endorsed is option 2, is that correct?
It would be option 2, correct? Yep.
Okay, I would be in favor of that. And just to be clear, I'm not trying to pick the color of swing. I'm just suggesting that there are a wide variety of options. As Director Rowe indicated, playground equipment is expensive and it also lasts for a very long time. So that's why I think it is relevant that we talk about how we're building to the future and where the strategic spots are in town, where playgrounds have been removed previously, and there are some gaps. So I'm looking forward to seeing this come forward. I'm in favor of option 2.
Councillor Berry, you've already expressed that you're in favor of the option 2. Councillor Warwa? Number 2? Okay, Councillor Broadjack? 2. Councillor Waters?
I'm in favor of option 2. And again, with the add-ons, I think it's very important to consult with the organization, with the children that we're directly trying to help out, to see what they need and what they want, just as a consultation as well. I'm sure that's been thought of, but option 2.
Okay, so Phil, there you have it. That's how we're going to move forward. As quickly as you can get some proposals on what the added equipment at the Kinsman Park would look like. We would like to see it, to see exactly, is it enough or is it not enough?
I'm meeting with some playground suppliers next week to start getting the ball rolling on what we can get for that money. So.
Okay, thank you all.
And I have the next one too, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
So we, council has heard this, a presentation. This is from the Western States Hockey League. You'll see attached a formal proposal from Commissioner Ron White. This letter is their specific ask of their needs for should they want to put a Western States Hockey League franchise here. I've done sort of a Coles notes so everybody doesn't have to read this, but the ice times, the rental will be beginning September 15th, games to start October 15th. Space requirements, dedicated locker room. We can accommodate. It will cause some booking issues with minor hockey, but the recreation manager says that we can figure this out. Office space, we may have to share an office space with the arena staff. Storage, they will be able to use the current Junior B storage. There is some other available spots. They do want a 3-year commitment, so they want to sign an agreement for 3 years. In the agreement, part of it is they would like the ability to have a liquor license and serve alcohol at the games. Now, in consultation with other teams, this could be in a designated area. It could be in the stands in a designated area. It's no different than an Orla game. You can drink a beer in the stands and you can have a child beside you, whether or not the town wants to allow that. But they do want the ability to have a liquor license. The ice rates, they are willing to pay $180. Currently, our rate for Junior Bs is $143 an hour, and they will pay $80 an hour for practice time. Their practice time is all in dead ice space from 9:30 in the morning to 3:30 in the afternoon. So there'd be some additional income from that dead ice space. Advertising, They do want to work on an amicable deal of sharing advertising dollars. If this proposal moves forward, that is something that we'll have to discuss what that looks like at a later date for the actual advertising share. And some miscellaneous items, use of internet and the Wi-Fi for streaming live games. That's not an issue. And bus parking at the facility should the team have their own bus, which again is not that big of an issue. We'll figure that out. A decision is required by the beginning of May as the ownership group, the league is having a meeting. It's scheduled for mid-May, and they would like a decision that they can present to their ownership group. So that's in a nutshell, that's their proposal. Now, I know council received an email last week from a lady expressing some concerns. Your worship, that is up to, I'll leave that up to you to bring up with town council, because it was addressed to council, so not me. And I guess that's the WSL request. Since this request has come in, I have also got a proposal from the GMHL, which is the Greater Metro Hockey League. I can speak on that presentation after some WSHL discussion, if you'd like.
Okay. So let's start here with the Western States Hockey League. So everybody got all the emails that I got from the solicitors, from the concerned parents and billets, and there was also one from the mayor of Edson, I do believe. So wasn't flattering, none of them by any means, but they got a lot of problems. The biggest thing that caught my eye is there's no governing body here other than the league itself. There's nobody that holds them accountable, this league, to anything. So when there's concerns raised about the players being mistreated, criminally, whatever, and there's no mechanism, there's no governing body that investigates. They just go ahead on their merry way and do what they want. That's a big concern for me. And not knowing if all the things they were accused of are true or not. I mean, some are in litigation now in the States. Some of these issues of sexual interference with the player and stuff. The stuff that's happened in Edson, where the coach was not removed, and then he was removed or he left on his own. I'm not really sure what to do here, to tell you the truth. Go ahead, Councilor Rudick.
Well, I'm not sure that I received all of the same emails. I've received some. A lot of them were directed to my spam, so I did find them afterwards. And there were previous emails from the last time we had this discussion. I do have some concerns too. At first blush, we've had a presentation by the ownership group a while ago, and I would, at face value, endorse the opportunity to provide a sporting and a business opportunity that like this. There is the other part that we should be very cautious about, and I'm not sure where we proceed either, but the offer has been made to make a presentation to council, and some of these discussion points are very contentious and potentially harmful, but I think we would be well advised to consider that part of it too, because if we go too far without hearing the opposite point of view and concerns about protecting youth players, that is a concern. I mean, there's a very big difference between minor hockey has a governing body to whom parents, coaches, and ownership doesn't play into this, but they have to report to other levels. Whereas in this situation, there are vulnerable players that potentially could be affected, and we need to be aware of that if we're making a decision that's going to have our community name attached to that. So I don't know how we proceed, but I think we do need to consider that in the next little while before we give a definite answer to the ownership group. I appreciate that there's a very clearly delineated set of facts here, what they're asking for, but we also need to consider some of the cautionary emails that we've received, some of which are very concerning.
Councilor Borba.
I'm a little torn on this. I'm not going to say that I'm not. I see some value. I must admit, I am a little bit on a different side than Councillor Rudick in that I don't think we should be meeting on those things at all. I don't think that if we're talking about something where there is a coach in a situation or there has been even alleged sexual misconduct, those are criminal acts. That's the reality of that. I don't think we are diving into that. We're not talking about the same people. We're talking about renting a facility. So for me, my decision will be based upon those things. I think that you could have terrible scenarios with billets and with coaches of any sport. I don't think we're attaching our name specifically because something's in a location. So for me, I don't want to jump into what happened in a billet in another town of another person. And we certainly wouldn't want to be involved, I don't think, in a legal. For me, it will come down solely to whether it's a good fit for our community for the rental and how it would impact the others. But I guess I do have some caution in getting into what another group, like I would ask the question of, do we do that with any other group? Do we go ahead and decide before we're renting out, if minor hockey, I understand, has a governing body, but everybody has some group. Do we look into it with anything we rent to? So I'm a little bit, I think I concentrate on the rental side, not on the other part.
Okay, we'll go back to Councilor Rudick and then we'll go to Councilor Broadjeff.
Sorry, just to answer Councillor Warwick's question, I see what you're saying. I don't see this simply as a rental of a building though, because there is more to that. And when we first had this discussion, the very first thing that I asked is we wanted to check with the other municipalities because the municipality is intricately interlinked with this business and see what their experience was, because there were varying reports from those municipalities how it rolled out and what it looked like. And I do feel like there is another part to this. It's not strictly building rental. There is more to that. And I absolutely understand and endorse what you're saying. For us as a municipality to get into the legal part or what exactly is transpiring, that part is not our purview. However, our reputation is within our decision making, and this building is our rental space, but there's more to it just to consider before we move too far down this path.
Okay, Councilor Broadjeff.
So I don't view this as strictly a rental agreement. I think this would be a partnership. And I think that whenever we're entering into a partnership, I want to see what type of leadership that the other company has. So to me, the leadership of that company, no matter if it's present day, I see it, the past 3 years is very much present day. And I think that we need to take a definite, strong view of how their leadership group is controlling the company. And that will determine the future of the company that we're dealing with. So I think that we need to take a definite, serious look at the leadership of who we're planning on getting or planning on dealing with.
Okay, so there, Councilor Lemko.
Yes, Your Worship. I just don't get a good feel for the Western States Hockey League. I think their pitch to us has come over the last year or so. There's just too many unanswered questions. The league itself is decreasing in size from the state's perspective. There's 5 teams in the Western States, 4 in Canada right now, that and actually in Alberta. There's none in BC, none in Saskatchewan. I'm not sure if they're planning to grow there, but they were in Meadow Lake and that's dissolved. I just don't get a good feel for the league itself. And then the lack of governance is huge. There's too many red flags bouncing up for me, Your Worship.
Okay. Councilor Berry, Councilor Waters, any feelings one way or the other? They would like to have some direction before May 1st. So Councillor Barry, you go first.
It's not being of a hockey family per se, other than the viewing of it, I don't have a strong hockey feel. But I am a bit wary of just this league. So I've been sort of sitting back and wanting to know what others thought of it. I do recognize that it is an opportunity to put another activity within our facility and book ice time that normally isn't used and bring another entertainment to town. But there's an underlining, I can't feel comfortable with youth potentially being brought, a lot of it overseas youth. They're very vulnerable in my opinion. And I'd really want to know more about how the organization really is set up and what governing bodies they really do have on it. I feel uncomfortable as well.
Okay, Councillor Waters.
Kind of in the same boat as Councillor Barry, not coming from a hockey background. But with that said, as from a business point of view, we're not here just to fill our facility. We have other events that we can put in there and that's fine. But as a partnership and being with somebody, we have to be able to trust and understand the leadership, the governance, the roles of all the players involved. Just with the information coming now, it doesn't sound very strong. You have to have that strong connection. Trust is huge. And I think there's a lot of doubts being placed right now. We'd have to check a little more into it, I think, but we're not just here to fill a facility. We have to do a lot of due diligence on that as well.
Okay, well, I've talked to 3 mayors of municipalities where the league is now. Obviously, Edson guy, mayor, I've talked to him a few times, but I haven't talked to him lately regarding what a letter he sent out here recently. The other 3 were all said they were fairly happy with the way that the league was conducting itself and the way the players were in their municipality. There's no doubt about there's been some allegations and some stuff that's been written about them. And I know that, I don't know if you've all seen the one from the one lawyer that in the States, and that was a very lengthy, just his resume alone took me almost an hour and a half to read before he got to the point that it talked about the case. I would be careful what we may be setting up some potential billets in our community for, some backlash or something like that. The part that really bothers me more than anything, and I am a hockey guy, and I love the game, and I'd like to see the game continue here. I'd like to see the junior Bs come back. We're not sure how that's going to work, but I also know too that we do have a responsibility ethically if we're going to bring somebody in, they should be very trustworthy. And the fact that there's no governing body bothers me. There's nobody to hold them accountable. So when they pay no attention to allegations or requests of parents of billets of the communities, that's worrisome. So again, I have talked to 3 other mayors that are very happy with the situation within their municipality. So I don't know, the Greater Metro Hockey League, they would like to make a proposal to us as well. And Phil, what's your thoughts there? Like, what are they saying? When would they like to come in?
Is that the GMHL? Is that what you're talking about?
I am now, yeah.
So he sent me a presentation. I talked with Derek Prue. He is the marketing director for the GMHL. So they have currently 4 teams in Alberta. There is 12 teams in Ontario, so more around the Greater Toronto area, and they're expanding out to Alberta, BC, and Saskatchewan. So they're currently at 4 teams, and they are trying to, well, they're hoping to go for 7 this year and 10 by the end of the next season. and they would like to make a presentation to council on theirs. So they're very similar. They're a tier 2 junior A team, but the difference is that these are run by a board of governors. They're not sanctioned by Hockey Canada, but they are, they're not sanctioned, but they are, so they're not a member of Hockey Canada, but they are sanctioned. So they do have a board of governors and a members of the public that oversee it. They have their insurance, they have a rule book, they have everything. It's just not a part of Hockey Canada. So it's not like the AJ or the WHL. They're very similar to the Western States, but they're run by a board of governors. So they would like to make a presentation to council. And again, time is of the essence because they are meeting in May as well. Derek said he can meet before a Monday meeting and after a meeting, whenever you guys want. We could have it for the next ledge. The next ledge is pretty full though, as far as I know, but I'll leave that up to you. I can arrange a meeting whenever you wish.
Well, I don't think that we can wait till the next ledge meeting. I mean, it's another option we haven't heard from this league yet. If you could, even if it's just a special meeting on Zoom with them, with council, set it up as quickly as you can. And I'd like to get some feedback from the other communities too, where they're at right now.
Yeah, I've already actually made contact with those four municipalities and waiting to hear back. So,
okay, Councilor Rudy.
So I don't have that email from the Mayor of Edson. I wonder if you would be able to forward that to council. Yeah. I don't see it in my blocked email file. But the other question I would have before we meet with, the Greater Metro Hockey League, is there an opportunity for us to get some feedback to us? I don't know that we need a legal opinion, but maybe a little bit of deliberation about what we're exposing ourselves to in terms of the community reputation before we talk to the Greater Metro Hockey League, because we're not just doing an either or, although we do want to compare the options that are before us. We want to make a good choice, but we also need to be able to make that decision with full facts.
Okay, well, I mean, I can guarantee you what three other mayors have told me regarding the Western States Hockey League, and they're feeling very comfortable with them in the community. They feel that some of these allegations were blown out of proportion, and what happened in Edson didn't really happen. The coach went on his own way, and the league didn't have to do anything. That it's been a billet that's been pushing this a little bit further. Again, I don't really know. All I can tell you is that the three that I did talk to said they were comfortable with the association and the league being in their community, and they were looking forward to adding more teams to it. So, Councilor Rowe.
Yeah, I would certainly want to meet with this other league for sure. Phil, I'm just wondering, do you know, you said that they're sanctioned but not members. If they are sanctioned but not members and don't have international players, do you know whether that then makes them eligible to affiliate from minor hockey? Sorry, I guess that is a question we can ask them too. I just wondered if you knew it offhand.
I'm just kind of going off some information he sent. So players do not require a IIHF transfer to play in the GMHL. They're not a part of Hockey Canada, but they are sanctioned. A government body sanctions the rule book and the policies and procedures manual, and that's for players, teams, coaches, referees. So basically, like every league that operates under Hockey Canada and Hockey Alberta, they are sanctioned by a board of governors. So they're overseen by a group, not just the owners who own those teams. So that's all I can tell you.
Okay, yeah, no, perfect. Just I know with the Western League, the way it worked with their international players, there wasn't any option for affiliation at all. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll try to find that email, Councilor Riddick. I'm looking in my deleted file right now and I don't know where it went to.
So in the essence of time, sir, could I'll just arrange a time with the GMHL and I'll get 2 or 3 different times. Would that be okay with you?
I do believe so, yep.
Okay.
That would work. Okay, thank you, Phil.
Okay.
Next up, Dale.
Hello, Your Worship. Let's see, we'll go to 7.2 because we covered 7.1 already earlier. And that's the 53 A Street temporary road closure. Just opening it up. It's to temporarily close 53 A Street from 50th Ave to 51st Ave for the purpose of utilizing the land as a laydown yard by PV Mart during their 2021 construction season. I'll just read the RCD quickly. The background, PV Mart conducted inspections of their stores across central Alberta and indicated that Vegreville store required more room. PV Mart will be constructing a 9,720 square foot expansion, aesthetic improvements inside and outside of the existing space, as well as complete asphalt of the parking area, big garden area and storage yard as well. And since they are building out the entire footprint of their property, right from property line to property line in every direction, they require a space for a laydown yard for their materials and equipment. So the town is, we're making proposal to offer 53rd A Street from 50th to 51st Avenue for a laydown yard for them. We'll put it on social media. We'll get some of the information out the way we normally do. There is no financial implications for us, and we will be signing an agreement with them that the condition is in the same condition when they return it to us as it is now, when they take it, which isn't going to be that hard to do. So recommendation is being made the town council approve the temporary closure of the 53 A Street from 50th Avenue to 51st Avenue for the purpose of a laydown yard for PV Mart during the 2021 construction season. That will be coming to the next regular council meeting.
Okay.
I included a page just to make it easy to see which area we're talking about.
Okay, thank you very much, Dale.
You're welcome.
Next up, Paul Casey, and we're going to go through the year end.
Thank you, Your Worship. Your Worship and Council, there's a lot of information that I provided ahead of this meeting. It's not my intent to read you any documents. I'm just going to hit the highlights. The written document is a companion to the financial statements, so I'm going to go off the financial statements for my discussion, and it's going to be a lot briefer than having to read the 13-page document that I provided with all the graphics. I'm going to start with the consolidated statement of financial position in the financial statements, and for those that are following, that's page 2. Our financial position overall, our net debt position improved by about $1 million. It went from $5.2 million of net debt in 2019 to $4.2 million worth of net debt in 2020. That's primarily as a result of a $800,000 increase, sorry, a $700,000 increase in financial assets. Financial assets are assets that are readily convertible to cash, and a reduction in our financial liabilities of about $300,000. Most of that reduction came from repayment of long-term debt. That's $600,000. We did have an increase in deferred revenue of about $700,000, almost $800,000 as a result of government grants that we received in advance of using them, primarily MSI, fuel gas tax fund, and some ACP funds that have all been deferred. In our financial assets, we have a large amount sitting in taxes and grants receivable. A large portion of that, $991,000, is related to grants in place of taxes that were paid subsequent to the end of the year. If you take that out of there, we're about $250,000 $257,000 over what we were in 2019. And that's primarily a result of the economy and two big customers who didn't pay their taxes this year as well as last year. So our non-financial assets, which are assets which are not readily convertible to cash and primarily consist of tangible capital assets, declined about 1.5 million. Primarily that's because of the depreciation on our tangible capital assets exceeded our additions to our tangible capital assets by about $1.4 million. So the next page is the statement of operations. We ended the year, we had about $17.3 million worth of revenue compared to a budget of $17,052,000. That's a difference of about $295,000, and the majority of that comes from the funding that we received from the government for the MOST grant. So we were allocated I can't remember the exact number, but almost $600,000 worth of MOST grant funding, and we recognized $293,000 in 2020 to offset the lost revenues at recreation and facilities. We did see a small increase in finance and franchise and concession contracts as well. We did see a decline in fines, license permits, and penalties, which was expected. That also those fines, license permits, and penalties includes penalties for taxes as well as fines for provincial government. Our tax penalties were about $11,000 higher than we had budgeted, and our fines from the provincial government were about $33,000 less than we had budgeted, so about 36% decline in our fines from the province, which is in line with what they said they were going to do in their budget for 2020, 2021. From an expense point of view, we ended up with $19,192,000 worth of expenses compared to a budget of $20,336,000. Pretty much all of the functional areas saw a decline in expenses compared to budget, with the exception of facilities. And facilities has increased because the amount of revenue or the amount of rent that was deferred from Cromtech, we set aside an allowance for it when we determined that Cromtech was not going to, had asked for forgiveness for the first 3 months. And just in terms of the economy, we just thought it was prudent to set an allowance aside for that amount. So that's why there's an increase in Cromtech. Despite that, when we look at our operating surplus, so in June, we did a reallocation of our unrestricted surplus into reserves, which reduced our operating surplus to about $626,000. We ended the year with an unrestricted operating surplus of over $1.5 million. So we ended up with increasing our operating surplus by $926,000. And primarily that comes from cost savings from the town. It doesn't come obviously from massive rental increases, but we did see over $600,000 in savings in salaries, wages, and benefits for various reasons. Just about every functional area had a reduction in salaries and wages and benefits, including council, including administration, all of us, all to various amount. And with respect to council, because you guys had fewer committee meetings to attend in person or otherwise, your costs, for instance, for salaries, wages, and benefits was down $72,000 compared to what we had budgeted. Administration saw a reduction of about $50,000 in salaries, wages, and benefits because our finance manager went on maternity leave and the person we hired to replace her left because of COVID-19, and I just opted to not replace them during the interim, which I'm looking forward to that person returning on May the 3rd. We also saw declines in purchased goods and purchased services because of projects that were delayed or deferred until future years. So at the end of the day, we had, despite the issues that we had with COVID-19, we were able to cut some costs and save some money and increase our unrestricted surplus by about $926,000. And that's really all I want to say. That's basically what I say in that 13-page document. But I didn't want to sit here and just read it verbatim. So if anybody has any questions, I will try and give you an answer.
Who wants to start? Nobody. Okay. Well, I appreciate it. And I talked to you earlier, and thank God you straightened me out on a couple of things there. But I must say that, you know, COVID really put a clamp on a lot of stuff, salaries and benefits and council spending. And I must say too, facilities started picking up a lot more work on their own. We weren't contracting work out anymore, and we were doing it in-house. And so it all made a difference. So, and it was nice that to have those grants that we're spending, and having the ability to create employment within our community with that grant money was a big bonus for our town. So thank you, Paul, for putting this together, and we look forward to you getting some help.
Thank you. The auditors will be at the council meeting on Monday for approval of the financial statements.
Councilor Rudick has a question.
So overall, I'm happy to see that this is better news than I guess we were all expecting to have some real challenges. So the grant funding in a few different areas and some restricted spending has resulted in some positive outcomes. In general, do you see that there are some vulnerabilities as we move forward in the next year? Because I think some of the impacts of COVID, particularly in a small community, are going to be felt differently. Do you think that we have some vulnerabilities that we should be watching for?
Well, I think we probably do have some. What they are, I don't know. It depends on how much longer we have to go with this COVID-19 and what the government decides, given the current rise in variants and how that's going to impact things. I don't think we can count on the government to come and give us money anymore, or to continue to give us money to offset costs related to COVID. I think that eventually that's going to fall on us. So yeah, and then, you know, can we continue to operate provide the level of services that we're providing if we don't fill the positions that we didn't fill? That's an issue. That could be a potential issue. I know from the administration side, yeah, we probably could. It's stressful to be the only person here doing that stuff, but it could be done. You know, I know that everybody from Public Works and Parks and Recreation, everybody, you know, had fewer staff to work with in the summertime. They hired fewer summer students. We were fortunate we got a Canada Summer Jobs grants that offset some of those costs, but we've also again applied for Canada Summer Jobs grant. We haven't heard anything yet. Don't know when the response for that is coming. So, you know, there probably are vulnerabilities, Councillor Rudick, but what they are, I haven't really thought about them that much right now. I've been more focused on just getting through the year end.
Well, I think that we can recognize that facility rentals, user fees and stuff are going to stay pretty flat moving forward. So when it comes to some rehiring and some positions that weren't filled, I guess we'll just have to work our way through that. And, you know, always keeping in mind the bottom line here is that I do believe what Paul's saying is that I don't think that we can expect much more support from federal or provincial governments when it comes to cost of COVID for municipalities. I mean, they won't even pay to clean the street anymore. So we could be looking at a lot more cutbacks.
Our 2021 budget going forward did not necessarily anticipate that we were going to go potentially into another lockdown, and went more towards fully utilizing facilities. So we're going to see some lost revenue from that. How much, I don't know. It'll depend on how long this continues. So.
Okay, what do you got next, Paul?
Next is the reserve schedule for the end of the year. Part of our reserve policy is that I present to you the reserve schedule on a periodic basis. So this is the first time because we set it up in June and nothing changed between June and before December until we did the year end. So this is the revised schedule. You will see that in two instances, we are over budget with respect to what the maximums are supposed to be. In the operating reserve, that is in the general operating reserve, and that is because when we did the transfer or the reallocation of reserve funds in June, we had already taken the money out for certain projects and stuck them in the functional categories. And when those projects were finished, such as the columbarium project at the cemetery, the road crossing at CN, we didn't need as much reserve money as we had anticipated. So that money went back into the general operating reserve, which put us over the maximum. And on the capital reserve side, the equipment or the vehicle reserve is over budget. And that comes from the sale of the ambulance and the related costs that we recovered as a result of the sale of the one remaining ambulance we had. So what I would propose from a reserve schedule is, since we are taking a lot of money out of the equipment reserve to fund the compactor for the landfill, that the excess amounts in the general operating reserve, the excess amount in the fleet reserve be reallocated to the equipment reserve, and the $926,000 unrestricted surplus that we realized in 2020 be reallocated so that we make our infrastructure reserve at its maximum of $2 million. So $200,000 increase there, and the remaining amount go back into the equipment reserve to start refunding the equipment reserve.
Okay, you're going to bring that recommendation to the next council meeting?
I will bring that recommendation to the next council meeting if council agrees that that's a reasonable process.
Well, I can guarantee you that the infrastructure reserve, walking around town lately looking at some sidewalks, and we haven't shown any love to sidewalks in a while. We've got a lot of issues there. So.
The other alternative is we could increase the maximum level of the infrastructure reserve, say to $2.5 million, and put some money in there to get it closer to that, and put the rest of it in the equipment reserve. Because I agree with you, I've been walking around town a lot too, and there is some maintenance work. And I understand that the Public Works is doing it, but there is a lot that has to be done.
Yeah, and I've been on council going on 8 years, and we haven't had a major reconstruct and replacement of sidewalks for a long time. But I agree with I don't see anybody that's not agreeing, Paul, like the recommendation for the breaking those reserves to be topped up, the way you explained it, bring it to the next council meeting. So.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And then the last thing I have is a discussion on the property taxes, because I'm working on the bylaw. So the bylaw right now is structured to be the same sort of split as last year, 47% residential, 53% non-residential. Last year, we had set the deadline for tax payments September 30th, and we had set the penalty for non-payment at 10%. And I'm just wondering if council wants to continue that process, or do we want to reset back to June 30th with the old 15% penalty level? Last year we had done that. We did that to assist the ratepayers, obviously, but we also did it because the provincial government mandated that the non-residential portion of the provincial education tax be deferred at least until September 30th. So to match that, we did the same thing with our bylaw. That has not happened this year. There is no guidance from the province to do that this year. In fact, we've already paid our first quarter requisition for education, and we paid the full amount. So they're not deferring anything. So
myself personally, I do believe that we're still going to be fully engulfed in COVID until at least August. So I'm okay with our tax bylaw, our property tax bylaw, including exactly where it was last year, the extension to the end of September and the 10% penalty. I'd be in favor of that moving forward. But I'm not sure everybody else feels so. Councilor Rudick?
So I just, at face value too, I don't know that there's any benefit to going back the way things were, particularly given the fact that we're facing some continuing challenges for businesses, and the non-res portion is I think, fully flushed. Can you give us an idea again what the actual percentages of requisition? How many people have actually made good on their commitment for taxes last year? And is there any benefit to changing it back? Because I would be in favor of keeping it with the September 30th date as it was this year, or sorry, I guess in last collection year, but just, can I have those two questions answered?
I'm not sure what your question is about how many people haven't made good on their taxes. I don't understand what you're asking.
What I'm asking is what percentage have actually submitted or remitted their tax payment? How many people or how many individuals, how many businesses have not remitted their taxes? Because you referred to it in the document previously.
Well, I would say that primarily 90% of the businesses have remitted their taxes for sure. It's just basically two businesses which are in the same business have not paid their taxes 2 years in a row. And if you take those two businesses out of the calculation and the GPOT out of the calculation, we're at about the same place as we were last year. However, having said that, we did file our tax notification list at the end of March when it was due, and we had 17 ratepayers on the tax notification list, which was about, I think, 10 more than we had last year. So it's going.
I think a good indication was at the end of December, which is the date that kicks in for the second part of the penalty. Paul had told us that we were about the same where we normally would be over the last 4 or 5 years.
That's correct. If you took the GPOT out of there.
Yeah. So
there would be no.
I mean, I don't have those numbers in terms of how many. I can get them for you. I don't have them off the top of my head.
No, sorry. And that's fine. That was what my memory was of that conversation that we've had previously. And from your opinion, administratively, there would be no benefit to reverting back to the June 30th collection date?
Well, the only benefit was we might get our cash earlier, but having said that, a lot of people paid because they're used to paying by June 30th. We'll see how much that changes. And we have increased our, slightly increased our level of, just give me a second here, of our people that are paying on a monthly basis. So right now we have 744 ratepayers paying on a monthly basis out of 3,200 rolls that have to pay. So about 25% of our rolls are being paid monthly. That's up from, in the last 4 years or 5 years, that's up from 716. So it hasn't grown a lot in terms of numbers, but the dollar amount has grown by $659,000. So we're collecting $659,000 a year more under the TIP program. And I think this year we have to do a better job, and I take responsibility for that last year, of getting the information out there about the TIP and getting people to sign up for it.
Well, and we all need to recognize too, the reason that we made those changes to our tax bylaw was to give that extra couple of months to help people out. And by the end of the year, it didn't really hurt the town's overall finances. I mean, we stretched it out a few months and we got a few more people to get on the payment plan, plus the fact that they didn't have to make that interest at the end of June. So all in all, I mean, I wouldn't recommend we keep doing it everyday practice, but I still think that there's every time we get an opportunity to help a taxpayer of the community by not charging them if they needed a couple more months to pay during this COVID times, I think that it's a responsibility that we should take. So, Councillor Barry?
I can agree with that portion of it. I just wanted to get a better understanding of the implication this year. If the educational tax, we still have to get that paid ahead of time?
We paid it. We paid every 3 months or 4 months, 3 months.
Quarterly.
We pay it quarterly.
Okay.
Yeah, so we pay about, it's about It's about $480,000 a quarter that we have to
So
pay
to-
the province.
Yeah, so deferring, as we did last year, doesn't really imply to the town that we're losing money or expending money that we don't have. We still come out okay.
Yeah, we still have to collect it. We just collected later. We just collected it later.
Yeah.
But we also paid it later. So last year we paid in the first quarter, we paid our regular payment in 2020. And then the next 2 quarters, we paid a lot less money. And then the last quarter, we paid about $800,000. So I would prefer to just keep paying the same amount every quarter. It's easier to plan than try to figure out,
Yeah.
at the end of the year, we got to pay $800,000. And I would say we shouldn't be deferring any of that education tax as well. I agree we could go to September 30th for the deadline, and the 10% penalty that effectively does that anyway, without saying that that's what we're doing.
Okay, good.
Anybody else? So if Paul brings that to Monday's meeting, that we're gonna stay the same with our property tax bylaws we were last year. Okay, there you go.
Okay, that's all I wanted. That's all I have, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you very much. Cliff, you're up next.
Okay, talk of the town schedule. This will be my last time to bother you with it, then it'll go over to communications, so.
Oh, perfect.
So right now we're looking at May 17, or May 13 taping, May 17 airing. So I'll go on the record date, that's easier. So May 13. And just prior, we've had Tim and Marielle, Tina and Anya, Dave, Gerald, and then Tim and Cliff. And then we missed Easter Monday, and then Tim and Dale. So there's a few that haven't been on for a couple months here.
So on Thursday, Cliff, you and me are gonna go do the taping.
Yep.
Okay. So you're looking for May the 17th right now?
Yeah. A record date of May 13. Yeah.
This may be, I don't know, Tina and Anya are already doing their thing on the 3rd, right? And then Marielle and myself, state of the town. Okay. Councilor Rudick.
Doesn't matter which day, but maybe we can have something with economic development, have Bob and myself in one of those upcoming. We will have had a meeting by then. He will have been around for more than an introduction, but it doesn't matter which one, but maybe you can decide which, the 17th or the 31st or the 7th. Any one of those, I'm fine.
Well, I think by May the 17th that we will have a plan laid out on how economic development and that department's going to be moving forward. And I think we'll be able, for sure, to be able to release it to the citizens of our town. So,
okay.
So we'll put Councilor Rudick in there. And Bob.
Yep.
Okay.
So the next one then is a record date of May 27 to air on May 31.
Okay. Councilor Waters, look at that. There we go.
Would it be all right if I took that and spoke maybe to our support with the bike and skate park? Or is there another topic that would be?
Nope. That's what you would like to do. Your spot. You do what you want.
Yeah, I think I'd like to bring that up.
Okay.
on that record date. Get the
Okay.
other two from Rotary that presented today.
Would it be helpful for me to trade dates with you so that they can meet the June 15th or whatever the deadline is for the Cfib grant if they were getting funds from the community? Would you like to swap those?
I think we'd be okay there because then when people hear it, they're thinking about it right away. And there's still a few weeks before the grant has to go in. So I think that's all right. But thank you, Councillor Rudick.
Okay.
So the record date of June the 3rd to air on June 7.
Maybe Councillor Barry will be there talking about the soccer tournament.
Not certain that we'd be doing that, but it could be a possibility. I do have something else that might.
I was just joking. Yeah, you do whatever you want.
No, I'm saying that tentatively I will take June the 3rd. I'll explain why when we do our round the table.
Okay. So how much further did you want to get today, Cliff, before you pass the reins?
That's good. We have April and May covered, so we're good there.
Okay.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you.
Now, Southeast 17.
Right. Okay. So you've seen the names, and thank you for submitting your top 5. So the Southeast 17 naming contest ended on March 17. A total of 98 entries received, and a total of 95 names were given to council. 3 names were exact duplicates. From the 95, each elected official voted for their top 5, and the votes were compelled. So the top 5 names from council, and this is in no particular order: Harmony Industrial Park, East Point Industrial Park, Prosperity Park, Bakerville Industrial Park, and Heritage Industrial Park. So from these 5, if council will choose their top 3 names, and then those names will go out to the public. So I don't think we'd want to go more than 3 names out to the public. So.
Okay.
Okay.
You just want to go over those again one more time for me?
Sure. Harmony Industrial Park, East Point Industrial Park, Prosperity Park, Vegreville Industrial Park, and Heritage Industrial Park.
Okay. We will we'll send those back to Sandra, and then we'll get them out to the community. And we're going to have, how are we going to do this? Is it going to be on the website?
We'll discuss the details with communication and marketing manager. This will be one of his projects. So we did the legwork for him to get to this point. So
excellent.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll go round table here. I'll start. Just a heads up that we're going to get a visit here in the near future by Minister Nixon regarding our recycling program here and stuff. So we're putting some notes together and stuff for him, and it's on his schedule right now, but hopefully they'll all be able to get at least a week's notice before they get here, and we'll move forward from there. I want to know about the volunteer, the National Volunteer Week, the videos that the FCSS is requesting. They said they would like council to make a couple. Councilor Rudick?
Right. Can I just, Your Worship, I thought, were we supposed to be deciding 3 names to be putting forward to the public?
Well,
Or this,
we'll
this
send
is
them
the
in.
complete list.
We'll send them in. We'll email them back to Sandra.
So I guess I just wanted to ask the question, do we need to? Do we need to narrow it to 3 rather than 5? Is there a necessity? I know that that was the proposal given. And there were an astounding amount of options. Really quite surprised how many suggestions were made, but do we need to narrow it down from 5 to 3?
From what I've been informed, it's when it goes to the public, if there's a 3 is a good number to work with rather than 5. That's all. Okay.
Show me your fingers, councillors. Who wants 3? Who wants 5? 5, 3, 3, 3, 5. Oh my God, someone's gonna have to break this tie. Councillor Brodziak, what was yours? 5. Oh my God. Well, I guess we're going with 5. Sorry, folks. You're right. There was a lot of names that are put out there. There was some good play on words there too. It was good. I like VIP myself personally, but this makes everybody sound more important. Okay, so if we can get back to what was the expectation there on National Volunteer Week? We're all making individual ones, or what were we doing? Okay. Did anybody else get that letter that I got? Absolutely.
Sorry, and I guess maybe this is the challenge because we're all doing this part-time. There have been a number of different deadlines. What I would find helpful, because I'm not necessarily at my computer every day, I do a lot of time to be able to look at my emails, but I don't necessarily deliver on that goal. So I think there was a deadline that we're each supposed to record a video and send it forward. But it would be helpful for me. I don't know if it would be helpful for anybody else to have a timeline in maybe a meeting request or something like that so that it pops up in the calendar as a reminder because that email was sent out to each of us. And I think we're supposed to record and forward on our own, but please correct me.
It says the Vegreville District FCSS is working with Exceptional Committee and this year are hosting a virtual appreciation campaign, which takes place during National Volunteer Week. We would like to ask the mayor and council members to make a couple of 50 to 60-second video clips made using a cell phone that are similar to TikTok or Instagram Reels. So was anybody else started on one, or is everybody doing their own, or? Okay. Okay, then we'll get together and discuss this. Is everybody just going to do their own TikTok, or I don't get it? But
50 seconds is particularly long, I would guess. I think we should probably be
15 to 60, it says.
Yeah, so 60 is incredibly long. So I would guess that we probably should do something shorter, but a little bit of collaboration about what we're each going to do might be helpful, just to decide that we're all doing something similar length. The content, of course, we can come up with on our own, but might be helpful just to give a little bit of guidance and have a chat about that.
Okay, maybe we'll reach out to each other after the meeting, and who has got some ideas, and if everybody we want to make 2, split the council in 2, or if you want to do all individual, we'll figure something out. Okay, and the other question that I have is, when can we expect our meeting with RCMP and council? Go ahead, Cliff.
They're scheduled for the legislative committee meeting in 2 weeks.
Okay. Okay, and as far as what I've been hearing around town is that everybody's happy that the weather's better. I see a ton of people outside, and just try to encourage everybody just to hang on a little bit longer for everybody's mental safety, I'll call it, not even, I mean, it's getting to the point right now that everybody is just getting on edge. So, you know, what we're seeing right now out there with the numbers, I mean, I know it ain't easy, but we just all got to just, you know, just try to be a little bit calmer about the situation and just try to work our way through it a little bit further. Other than that, I've been hearing lots of positive things. You know, not from children. Children are seem to be the worst out there. They're anxious to get their life back together. So anyway, that's all I got. So we'll start with Councillor Rowe. What are you hearing?
Actually, just sort of the same things that you mentioned. But of course, because people are out walking lots, I did hear a little bit about the walking. You were absolutely correct that we would be noticed for walking the berm and taking a physical look. So I did have 2 people reach out and say they had seen us there and appreciated that. So I think that just reiterates the point that the importance, I know we've spoken before about trying to be able to go out and see those things ourselves directly. I think it means a lot to people. So I'll just throw that out there. One of the things, and I know Phil is looking at it already, but I have heard from several people about the lighting, about future considerations for lighting issues when it does come to the walking trails. That's probably the top one I heard. And the rest, I think everyone's just rolling along, like you said, trying to get through.
Thank you. Councillor Waters.
I just had one thing kind of brought up to me. We're focusing a lot on the event center, walking trails and all of that, and that's great. We have warmer weather right now, so people are out and about. But before you know it, I don't want to say it, we're going to have the colder weather coming back. And if we're having any considerations for our pickleballers, our adult badminton teams, or adult volleyball, like where can we house these groups in the colder months?
Well, it depends where the restrictions are.
True enough.
If the COVID's gone, they can go right back to where they were before.
So yeah, so just some concern about that. Maybe it's something we can keep in the back of our minds during the warmer months, what's going to happen in the colder months. Other than that, everything.
We're kind of hoping by October that, you know, close to 70% or 75% of Canadians will be vaccinated and life should hopefully get back to normal.
For sure.
You can tell them I said that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lemko.
Yes, Your Worship. Nothing on the negative side, Your Worship. We had some, I had about Public Works and the street sweeping, positive comments about how nicely the streets are looking and the street sweepers out and cleaning up the sand from the winter. Which was nice to hear from a resident. I did notice today that construction has begun on the Petrocan station between the Wild Rose and the Homestead. They're removing the earth there, which is a nice sign to show that something's going and people are investing in their community. It's all good. Kids are out in the parks and playgrounds. People are walking on the trails and people are enjoying the spring regardless of COVID, and the social distancing is evident in our community. I know the numbers are going up, but that's a sign of the variant that's in our province. So that's all I have, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Brajak.
Okay, I also have heard a lot of positive comments regarding towns going forward with the walking trails and just providing a lot more outdoor spaces for residents to spend time outside. I've also heard a few comments regarding the vaccine availability and vaccine clinics being held in Vegreville, and that there's no mention that these clinics are being held and the general population doesn't have any knowledge of it. So that's not anything that council has anything to do with. Just wondered if maybe we can reach out to our MLA to possibly request that if there is an AHS vaccination happening on a regular basis, such as I've heard maybe Wednesdays and Thursdays, that we could maybe reach out to them to advertise a little bit more, possibly on a radio station. It just seems that a lot of people were not aware. I know that there was a clinic held on March 25th at the, it was held at the testing site, and it was a vaccination clinic. They did the Pfizer, and it was just surprising that no one had heard about it. So just
Bill.
maybe we could reach out to our MLA.
Bill knows about it, Councillor.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Your Worship. So AHS does not advertise about where any of their clinics are, because they are setting up spot clinics where they can. Basically, you phone, you book, and they will tell you when and where you can get your vaccination. So the ones that are being held at the testing site, you formally get an email that tells you you'll report to this day at this time, and here's the location. So I don't think there's any way that we can actually advertise, because we don't know the specific dates. When they get their vaccinations, they will book days where they can. That's what I was told. So
okay, no, I don't want the town of Vegreville to advertise. I thought maybe we could request from our MLA that if they have specific regular clinics in specific locations, that possibly people could be made aware of it, rather than having a senior book at let's say Vegreville Senior, and if they were booking online and the only availability was Coal Lake or Camrose, that possibly if they were made aware that Vegreville, that it could be a potential that they could get vaccinated in Vegreville, that they would maybe prefer that as opposed to having to travel out of town.
I'll make a couple of quick calls, and I'll see what information I can find on that. But you're supposedly, say I haven't booked, but you're supposedly being able to say that you want the Vegreville location because that is the closest, and they'll find that location. But if there's no vaccine available and one opens up and you're on a waiting list, they will send you to where is available based on where you are on the waiting list.
Okay. And that's all I have for this week.
Okay, so Phil will check on that, Councillor Brodziak,
okay,
and let us know. Because I know it's always by appointment.
Yes, it's by appointment, but I know the clinic that was held on March 25th, it seemed that it just popped up out of the blue, and all of a sudden it was in Vegreville. So I know that we had quite a few comments saying, well, how come we didn't hear about it? You know, how come it wasn't made, how come no one was made aware that there was the potential of having a clinic, like of having to choose, being able to choose Vegreville over having to go to Camrose or anywhere out of town.
Well, Phil will check on it and they'll get back to us, and okay, yeah, that we can give just even its information to the residents that if you tell them you want to get done in Vegreville.
That's right, that there's the possibility even.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Rudick.
So actually, further to your comment, Councillor Brodziak, there is a bit of a challenge, and I know exactly what you're talking about because this has been brought forward to me because I'm a member of the Yellowhead East Health Advisory Council. So there was a local business that had to cancel appointments because they didn't have enough vaccine, and there were empty spots at the vaccine center. So it is a challenge that apparently they don't, sorry, they don't advertise. Just to reassure some of the people that may be listening, and for us here to be able to share the information and not advertise necessarily, they've changed the age range and included to 1973 with extenuating health circumstances. And I know that because I've booked a couple people in, including myself. So they are increasing the number of vaccines for the next 3 weeks in Vegreville on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So you're exactly right, Councillor Brodziak. So I'm hoping that there would be a better communication between the central vaccine site and local businesses. So for example, if a pharmacy needs to refer people, they could send them over to the vaccine site, but it doesn't quite work that seamlessly, unfortunately. I don't know what the answer is, and hopefully I will forward your concerns back up again. Back to other concerns. Hot tub remains closed, and I know that there was an answer from our staff. The question was asked again, why is the hot tub being treated differently than the pool? And people can't book it the same way that the pool can be, or the gym. So I don't know if that's provincial jurisdiction or why the hot tub is being treated differently. And I don't know if you can answer that right now. So that was one question. As far as street cleaning, people are very happy about it. I've also noticed an individual out physically street cleaning his street. He's always very meticulous about snow removal, but he was also out there shoveling and sweeping the copious amounts of sand in the street. So a lot of people taking it very seriously. The question was asked whether our app, which has largely been unutilized or inactive, there is a selection on there for snow removal notifications, but there is no selection to be able to notify people if they're street sweeping, for example, if they can move their vehicles just with a quick little ping, a notification. So I don't know if that's possible. And then the last query is, we have a number of new businesses that are opening, and we didn't get to acknowledge them last year as council. And I know that was one of our things that we had when we first started talking about trying to encourage existing businesses for their longevity. But I just want to make sure that we don't lose track of some of our existing businesses and make sure that we continue to recognize those that have been longstanding businesses that have really struggled through a very challenging 2020, and make sure that we go back and acknowledge some of the longstanding businesses for anniversary. So I'm not sure where we are on that project. We've missed some of them, and we also have some new businesses that we've missed. So just wanted to flag that here for us because there's a lot of people that are putting up their shingle, and some of them are just opening this week. So just want to make sure that we're acknowledging those ones. And that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Barry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will say where I sit here in my house, I get to see that 43rd Street is well used as a walking trail. So I think that, again, even today, the various people that are walking on the roadway, I think they're going to really enjoy when an actual sidewalk is put in up past the school so that they're walking in a better location. I think it's going to be well used. The actual news that I wanted to just kind of let council know, you're aware that the Vermilion River Watershed Alliance has, over the past 3 years, been working with landowners to protect riparian vegetation along the river and fencing off areas of wetland. So, you know, some 20 acres of this whole project has been nominated for an Emerald Award, and we've made it to the finals. And it'll be announced on June the 1st whether we're successful in actually winning our category. So I'm really quite excited about that. Got my fingers crossed, and that's why I've crossed my fingers that maybe on the 3rd I can talk at the town with some of our other people and make the announcement that we're Emerald Award winners for conservation and improvement at the waterway. So I'm hoping.
Well, good luck.
Well, it's also something that I'm pleased because Vegreville is a signing signature of that society, and most of our whole society is all made up of the municipalities along the river here, you know, with some NGOs and etc. So I think that it is a really good showing if we can win it to demonstrate that the municipalities are interested in the watershed. So.
Well, do we get a vote on it? Who gets to vote?
Unfortunately, that's their committee. The Emerald Awards is a foundation dedicated to conservation in Alberta, and they have a number of different categories, and they take applications and they sit down. They have a very good expert committee that look at them and then take it to the finals, and then they deliver it and make their announcement. And this year's announcement is June the 1st. So I listened to the semifinals, if we want to call it that, and was very pleased when our name made it to the finals. So we'll just hope. It's a very prestigious award to win, actually. So I'm hoping.
Well, we're with you. Okay, thank you, councillors, for what you do. And so next up, we're going to have director's highlights. We'll start with Phil Rowe.
Thanks, Your Worship. I don't have a whole lot. I would like to ask council to do a rain dance and get some water in the Vermilion River so I can fill up my pond for you guys. But other than that, parks guys are out busy sweeping out all the grass and getting our parks areas looking nice and clean for springtime. I've been noticing myself how many people are out and about. It's been mind-boggling to see all the people out and about, which is great. So one thing that will be coming for council discussion after I discuss with SLG is garage sales. We've got a few comments on garage sales, so we'll be having a discussion about that in the coming weeks. So other than that, business as usual, plugging ahead forward and coming to work happy and healthy every day.
Very well. We're all happy about that. Next up, Dale.
Thank you, Your Worship. My update will be on our projects that are coming up. The Southeast 17 lift station tenders, as you know, were out. They close on April 15, so that's in another 10 days or 9 days. And have shown a lot of interest on APC. So we've got a fair amount of general contractors that are pulling information off of that site, and a lot of suppliers as well, which is quite typical for that. So that's rolling along well. The Southeast 17, the on-site, and the 2021 capital works projects will be going out to tender. Probably we're going to review plans in about 10 days. The town will review them with MP, and then before the end of the month, they'll be out for tender as well. So that's going well. The Southeast 17 offsite is a little bit farther behind. Drawings are about 80% complete, but the specifications are at about 50%. So we're pushing hard to wrap those up and get them out the door. That will probably be going to tender second week of May, if at longest. So by the time end of May is out, or we get to the end of May, everything should be out for tender, completed the tender process, and we'll be looking to see start times. The storm pond, the wetland that we're dealing with, what we're doing is we're going to tender it out, and then the amount of work involved with the construction of the wetland will be put in a unit rate. So what we're going to do is get the tender going. There's a lot more to the project for the on-site than just the wetlands. There's the whole construction phase. So we're going to get started on that. And then, because if it's going to take 2 months for a formal approval to come in, then we'll have the project mostly completed. And what we have to remember is that because it's the lowest form of wetland, there's no refusal. There's no denied stamp that comes when we stop construction. We just have to give them some time to look at our design, approve it, maybe make some changes on size, whatever we have to do. And then that will be like a unit amount in the tender. So that, because it's an unknown right now. So if it's by unit rate, then we know if it's X amount of cubic meters or whatever we have to do, it's a preset price. So we're getting closer to everything coming out. So it's a lot of information. It's a lot of work going on, and a lot of design and a lot of specification setting for our tender items. And by the end of April, pretty much everything is going to be out for tender.
Okay, well, that'll be good. Get it out there as quickly as we possibly can. And I like that idea, just a unit price, because it's just going to be elevations more than anything when we get to that low area there, right?
Yeah, elevations and quantity, right, and size. So,
okay, thank you very much, Paul Casey.
I don't have a whole lot. I'm relieved to be through the audit, let me tell you. It was a lot of work, but it's done now. So, well, not done yet because the financial statements aren't approved, but the draft statements presented today will be presented on Monday for approval. And Kyle and Carla from Welding Company will be attend the meeting virtually to do that. Working on obviously the tax rate bylaw, which is the next big thing. So all our money comes from, or not all of it, but lots. And I've been walking around town a lot too and seeing a lot of people out there with a lot of smiles on their face. And I have to say that when you walk on those walking paths and you come across somebody who's coming towards you, everybody gives way and moves over to the side, and eventually nobody's walking on the walking path until we all get by each other. So no, it's good. So that's all I have, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Jameson Brown, what can you tell us? What are you working on?
Getting my email set up.
Okay, that's big.
No, today's the first day, so I would expect to hit the ground running tomorrow with Cliff. We have a meeting immediately, so I'm looking forward to that. I've got I think a lot of cool ideas to help build Vegreville's brand, especially when it comes to this new park and some of the residential developments that are pocketed around this community that I know we'd like to see fill up. I think it's time to bang the drum for Vegreville, and I'm looking forward to doing that.
Exactly what we wanted to hear. And you buy donuts for the first meeting, right?
Between Cliff and I? Good to know.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Jameson. Cliff, Craig.
Thank you, Your Worship. As you know, I was on vacation last week, but my update for council today is we need to set a date for the council CAO meeting that we had talked about having. So I don't know if you want to look at that now or send me a couple possible dates that would work.
So is our next ledge meeting pretty tight? Like it's pretty full?
It's full from what I'm aware of at this point, yes.
Okay, so I'd like to make it as quickly as possible. Then, so how about the second council meeting of the of this month? We'll tag it on the back end of that meeting.
Okay.
Is everybody okay with that?
That's the 26th.
The 26th. And so after the meeting, we'll have our quarterly meeting with Cliff and council.
Okay. I've been, as requested by town council, I've been working on drafting a whistleblower policy. I will have a draft copy for review by council at a future ledge committee meeting. And fire services agreement, Phil Rowe and I had a preliminary meeting with county administration regarding the fire services agreement renewal format. So we should be looking at putting together our intermunicipal committee to have a meeting to discuss the fire services agreement. We are to have a new agreement in place 6 months out from when it expires, which would be June 30th. However, the county is also open to extending the deadline if we so choose. Okay.
Have you had any conversation between yourself or Phil and the county moving forward?
Yes, we just did on March 25. So.
Okay, so let's get our committee back together and let's get the highlights. And
okay, I'll contact the committee members then and with some potential dates. Okay. Excellent. Okay. That's what I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So now we have some closed session items. There's 3 of them. And so the first one is disclosure harmful to economic and other interest of a public body. The second one is disclosure harmful to business interest of a third party. And the last one is disclosure harmful to personal privacy. So I'll take a motion to go into closed session. Councillor Rowe, thank you very much. All those in favor? Gary, would everybody like to have a 5-minute break before we get